This is the network to be in for conscious female entrepreneurs.
Gorgeous souls, welcome to day 4 of Laws of Abundance. Today we are beginning with the first day 1. There's going to be 2 days of integration calls to wrap us up for Laws of Abundance. And I'll tell you, these type of days are my favorite. For those of you who have been in the We Are Alpha Femme space for a while, you know that this is the way in which I love to lead. I typically lead 2 calls like this each month inside the We Are Alpha Femme membership, where we're on video like this together, where we're having conversations, where we're having connection, where you're bringing your questions forward. Because for me, the whole point of these conversations and this work is that we're not just getting it at this mind level, that we're embodied in it, that we're integrating, that we're deepening within this. And, even as I said, getting it at the mind level, this is an invitation here for you as you go back and listen to the replays. I know many of you have been sharing that you've been listening like 2, 3 times to the replays. An invitation as we dive into these conversations today. One of the biggest things I think for me early on in my journey, which really started the trajectory of playing in the quantum and with quantum wealth and quantum money and quantum abundance and quantum results and all of this energy, is that I stopped needing my mind to get it. And so there came from the like, okay, let's move from the mind into like the soul and knowing. And then I decided I don't even really need my mind to get it if I can trust that my soul already does. And so I want to invite you to listen to this conversation from that place today. What if I didn't need my mind to fully get it, in the sense like that my mind doesn't have to figure it out? What if I trusted that my soul already knows? How would that allow me to show up? How would that allow me to move? How would that allow me to lead? And while our mind is so powerful, our mind can also create such limitation in our energy field. Like, even as we were jumping on for this call today, I was like, time and money, two weird things when we really think about it. Like, I was like, time. I feel like a lifetime has passed since we've had laws of abundance like 5 days ago. And it's like, and no time has passed at all. And so all of this energy that we spend focusing on, like, I'm not there yet, or time is ticking, or this isn't happening yet, or the money's not there yet. And we get caught up in our head of trying to make it make sense. And the invitation today, as we go deeper and deeper and deeper, is more in this frequency of allowing, like, allow it to make sense in the ways that it makes sense. If your mind doesn't get it, but you have that feeling in your soul, like your soul knows, can you trust in that and move and lead from that place? I love the integration call, so happy to make it alive. Steph, my hair is beautiful. Well, thank you. I just literally came from getting it done. So it's new. New, but same, same. So we are going to dive straight in. How these calls are going to work over the next 2 days is that we've scheduled them in different time zones, really wanting to have live energy here for the calls, really wanting you to be able to come forward and have time with me to ask your questions live so we can go deeper in that mentorship. Know that whether you're somebody who comes up and asks a question today and receives live mentorship, or if you're sitting here in sacred witness, like, for me, why I bring mastermind components into almost everything I do. Like, anything I lead in Alpha Femme typically has this type of energy integration. Anything I do in my personal brand has a mastermind component. And I personally like receive the deepest through questions that I don't even ask, through questions and witnessing the exchange and the mentorship through someone else by listening. And it's like, I didn't even know I had that question. And all of a sudden, something unlocked for me. And so, an invitation for you to really be here and to be present here, even if you have your hand raised for a question to ask, instead of thinking about what question you're going to ask when it's your time, like, allow yourself to really absorb, to be here, to listen, to get it. We're going to try to answer as many questions over the next 2 days that we can around laws of abundance. So both of these calls are going to be focused on the laws of abundance and what we dove into this program. There's going to be another call in We Are Alpha Femme in September, an open integration call that you can bring in anything you want. It doesn't have to be laws of abundance related, but the next 2 days is going to be laws of abundance. And as I know, there's many of us live here right now. There's going to be more people joining me live tomorrow. So what I'm also going to ask is that when you raise your hand to ask a question, that we're going to try to come in and be like very like just some like full energy here. Like I don't need to know the whole entire backstory. Like try to keep your questions in the 2 to 3 minute energy so I can drop in, I can feel the energy with you, I can get where you're going, I can respond, we can have our mentorship exchange, somebody else can come up and have a turn. This is how this is going to flow the best for us. And so it's going to be an open invitation for people to come in, to raise their hands, and we're going to just dive straight in from here. I'm loving this live energy. Okay, fabulous. India, hi, hi, hi. So we've got hands starting to raise. If you don't know how to raise your hand, let me see if I do. There's a, how do you do that here? There's a button. There's a little button down here. I think if you click on more, let's see, how do we raise your hands? Oh, reaction. There's the reaction. There's a little heart with reaction. I think that if you click there, you can raise your hand. And I'm going to try to keep up a bit with the comments, but if we can raise hands to go next, that would be the best. So Auroshikha, you are going to come up first, my dear.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So in one of the calls, you mentioned that when you observe, when things come up for you, like who are you not to be or something, or when you feel that, because I'll tell you exactly what happened today after my yoga class. I was like, okay, let's get lunch with this girl, like who I usually walk down with. And I asked her, she said, no, I'm going out with her. And I felt that sister wound. It was so, how do I say it? It was so harmless. I mean, she can go and she can have anything, but I just took it so personally that it took me a while to just cope up with it. And everything like what you were talking about, it came up, and I'm like, oh my God, why is it hurting so much? Why did I have so much of expectations out of just such a simple thing? And I realized that things like this small affect me so much. I had to go to a flower shop and feed myself in a nice place to just get over that feeling. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, why was it like that? I'm a reflector, 4 by 6. I don't know if it has anything to do with that. I'm very outgoing usually, but I've realized that I don't get what I want when I say it. If I let it come to me, it usually comes, it's okay. But if have to ask for it, I don't usually get it. So I'm like, should I be asking for it or should I not? And I don't know, there's so many times like this, like today, and otherwise my sister's visiting me here. I keep getting those sister wounds opening. Like I feel like I've done so much of work with Nicole and Femme Fatale to deal with the sister and mother wounds, but then it just keeps coming up like this, and I don't know how to deal with it. Like I feel like I go 2 steps back.
Okay, so let's look at it through the lens that you like, that it came forward, that it brought up for you this like, okay, but like when I want what I want, I'm like getting what I want, but then feeling like I don't get it, or I don't get it on my timeline. So then this usually, then it also brings up the feeling, all the feelings. It can bring up the sister wounds, it brings up the disappointment, it brings up the hurt. Like it can bring up, so many different things. When I was speaking of that in this course, like I very much, and it's interesting because I was actually having this conversation earlier today in a bit of a different way. I very much live in the like, I get to frequency. I very much live in the like, of course, frequency. Like, of course, the things that I'm manifesting, the things that I desire also want me. And so to begin with, there's an energy that also creates this like self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's not like an expectation that I'm attached to, but it's like things are always working in my favor. Like the universe is always conspiring in my favor. God's got my back because I've also got my back. And so there's this, I'm going to say this relationship, there's this energy. Now, a question that I often get asked though is like, but what happens when you don't get what you want? What happens when it doesn't happen on your timeline? And this for me is where we've still got to continue to be in the energy and the knowing, like if it's inevitable, like there are things happening behind the scenes that I can't see it. There's the this or something better type of energy. And what we really then, you know, for me, it's about shifting into is one, dismantling the timeline, because the timeline is the thing that often creates this like pressure, creates this feeling of disappointment. And we're disappointed because it's feeling like I didn't get what I wanted. It didn't work out the way I wanted to. And that's what we see from the lens that we see from right now in this moment. And remember that like our human lens sees a fraction. Like what we see from the human eyes sees a fraction. And so when disappointment comes up, let's say, then for me, when we're shifting from into the abundance lens, the lens of our soul, it's about not like, yes, feel the feelings of the disappointment, like allow everything to come up. Like it's not about squashing anything down, but it's then not wallowing in that. It's like, okay, I'm going to remain disappointment if I then tell a story about this. I'm going to remain in this energy of disappointment if I feel like, well, because it didn't happen right now, it's never going to happen. I'm going to remain in disappointment. But it's like when the disappointment comes in, that will show us where we have attachments. So it's inviting you right away to let go of something. It's like, what is that? Like the way that I look at it is like, what is the disappointment there to teach me? What's the guilt there to teach me? What's the shame there to teach me? Like, what can I transcend if I'm aware of this, like what's being created, if I'm aware of this feeling? So, you know, a big thing when I talk laws of abundance is, again, we get attached to outcomes, we get attached to results. Well, what happens if we don't have like this thought, like things should be a certain way, things should be one way or the other? If we don't have this, like, this is the right way, this is the only way. If she says yes, then I'm worthy. If she says no, then I'm not. If she, you know, whatever expectation we put on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, logically, I understand that, but it took a hit. Like I felt all of those, and it took me like quite a few hours to recover. I would say even I'm like recovering out of such a small thing. So I would love to know, how do I handle quicker and let go of it quicker and just move on?
So I would look at then what you make it mean. Because the thing is, it's like, okay, it's there in the moment and I feel the pain in the moment. I feel the disappointment in the moment. And then is there a story attached to it? Is there something that you're telling yourself about either what comes next or about what that means about you? It's like, what else is it? Because like, this is what's going to allow you to shift out of it, is like when you bring the awareness to what's behind the feeling that you're feeling. And this is the part in the recoding where things get really uncomfortable. It's like things get uncomfortable because it's like what we said before. It's like, I want what I want and I want it now. So often this will happen, right? It's like, I just want my mastermind to sell out and I want to have a 6-figure month and I'm here. And so anything in between feels like not enough, or feels like I'm doing it wrong, or feels like I'm taking too long, or feels like, and so we don't see that maybe last time that this happened for you, it took you out, felt this energy that you're feeling now for 2 days. And it's like, oh wait, I'm shrinking. Like before I used to dwell on this energy for 2 days, and now it's 4 hours, and then it's an hour, and then I catch it the moment that it comes in, and I start to see like, okay, I'm making this mean something. I'm bringing in an experience from the past and letting that coding determine what comes next. And it's like more about, can I continue to bring myself back to like the now moment again and again and again and again and again? Yeah, Carrie said it just means she had plans, nothing about you. So it's like seeing where we jump, seeing where, because everything I lead in, I talk about like where we shift frequency. So see where all of a sudden it's like that I make it mean something because there's a no, because somebody else chooses something, because somebody, you know, and this shows up in so many different ways. And it will show up when, you know, someone says that they're going to come into your course and then they don't buy and then they ghost you. It's going to come, like, it comes up in all different ways, because if it's outside of you, your power, your personal power is based on circumstances. And for me, like, all of this work is really about, at the core, is harnessing our personal power.
So I changed what it means for me.
I mean, my invitation, when you say change what it means for you, I would invite you to not make it mean anything. Like, it is what it is.
Then it goes back to the story that I have in my mind.
And then it's about seeing the untruths, the lies that you tell yourself. So the story I have in my mind is blank. You know when Melanie talked about in Mission to Millions, like, were you there for the part where she talked about like the because of that? So because of that, this happens, and because of that, this happens. And this is like something I've been playing with myself. A lot of, my clients have been playing with too. It's like, okay, so because of that experience, like we can play with this in so many different ways. Because of that experience, I'm feeling this in this moment. Because of an experience I had before, when somebody says no to me, I feel this. What if right now I change my coding around? What if right now this is happening for me so that I can actually break free from this old belief code I have? And so what if I choose right now to write the because of that story that's going to come forward? Oh, because this person said no to me. I got to look at the place that I'm triggered. Because of that, I got to see where that coding came in. Because of that, I was able to break through it. Because of that, I started asking people freely and I wasn't attached to the yeses and nos. And because of that, I learned how to handle disappointment. And because of that, I was able to handle more. And because of that, I put things out there, even though I was scared, but then there was judgment. Do you know what I mean? It's like, can we work in this energy to see how we actually get to shift things?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for kicking us off with that question. I needed to hear this. This is resonating for a lot of people. So it was a great question to come in to start us off. I just want to tell you in live energy that this mini course was my absolute favorite of yours yet. It's helped me so much and it's the one I have on repeat. Well, I love that. Thank you for sharing with me. Okay, we have Julie up next.
Hi, Jacqueline. Thank you. Thank you for last week. Thank you for the activation, especially. That was really powerful. I've noticed a lot of things that I see differently. I try to catch myself instead of going down a rabbit hole. But I'm still holding on to, my question is, how do you handle the duality of energy when you have so much anger towards, I'm in a high conflict divorce situation. It's been 3 years. And how do you handle the abundance, like all the goodness that you're talking about last week that I felt? I find I come out of it a lot. Like just a couple days ago, like the child support payment didn't come. It's like, oh, I hold such good energy. And then there's like something like a curveball all the time financially, only for that side.
Okay. I have a question for you. And this may feel like it's not relevant. It may feel like it is. So I'm going to ask and we'll see if it has any impact here. Do you feel like there is a like villain victim energy with your ex at all?
Perhaps. Yes, perhaps.
And would you be the victim and he would be the villain?
Would like it to be the opposite, but yes. Yes.
So the reason that I ask this is oftentimes it's like, so when we're allowing the victim villain energy to live, it's like, well, if I then live in abundance, if I have all the money I can dream of and all of the success and all of the things, it's like, well, if I'm not the victim, then he can't be the villain. And I really want him to be the villain and he deserves to be the villain. And he did this, this, and this, and this. And so he's the villain who should be punished. And if I shift my energy, that shifts his energy. That shifts what maybe he believes about himself. That shifts what other people think of him. And so this is where I tend to look at how does me staying in the identity that I am right now serve, I'm going to say serve a purpose in the sense like it's feeding me in another way. You know what I mean? Like it's feeding you in the sense that it's not feeding you at a soul level. It's not nurturing you. It's not allowing you to grow in the ways you want to grow, but it's allowing you to like keep him in the seat of the villain.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And then as you're saying that, I often, it just sometimes brings up the fact that I would love to be so damn rich that I wouldn't even have those thoughts. And then yes, I'm totally in the victim energy.
Yeah. And so let's play with this. Like, I would love to be so damn rich that I didn't have those thoughts. And I'm really loving this, like, because of that energy that just came in. And like, can you imagine the because of that from there? But the because of that energy of like, because that I want him to be punished, and this might not be like your words, like it might not feel like that, but it's like, oh, because I want him to be the villain, because I want him to be punished. What if that's like actually blocking you from calling in riches? Because if you're so wealthy, it doesn't even matter if he pays you. Again, is he getting off the hook?
Mhm. Mhm. You've made me realize too that I'm grateful for him all the time. And I think that's a whole other level of growth, just because he's taught me so much, and he's taught me so much about what I don't want in a relationship. But I still hold that has immense power, that money energy that I have towards him,
Mm-hmm.
that I feel.
And I think that, and I think that this, a lot of people are resonating with and is gonna resonate with this, because this is a huge one for a lot of women, and for a lot of women that I've worked with as well. It's like, it's not like the thing that you're like wanting to hold on to, but like underlying and in the subconscious, it's the thing that's like still gives you like the illusion of control.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look around right now. I think I shared with you guys that I'm writing a book. Let me see. Is my writing right under here? And I might be here, might not be. This the right book. Hold on. I'm moving things around here. No, it's not. But I'm writing a book, and I there's a really great part. I shared it with my mastermind at some point where I talk about more about like the villain victim energy, and I'll share it in the group after, and I'll tag you in it, because I think that it'll really serve you as well.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, Katie.
Hey, beautiful.
Hey. Before you come up, I just want to see, because I want to not come back to this villain energy. Like, well, if somebody else wants to come back, but is that okay? I'm just going to say, Nicole's saying, how do you let go of the villain energy and hold the standard of the responsibility? So for me, within this, it's everything. Again, when I say everything, comes back to personal power and like radical self-responsibility. So again, and like this, because of that energy, like I now am self-responsible for what comes next, for what energy I carry forward, for the way that I choose to view the world. Do I choose to look through the lens of right and wrong? Do I choose to look through the world of punishment? Do I choose to look through the lens of love? Do I choose to look through villain and victim energy? And so this for me is like, I can choose like self-righteousness. I can choose that person's the villain and they did something wrong, so I'm gonna punish them. But who at the core is it really serving? It's definitely not serving me. And so I take radical self-responsibility, not for what somebody else chooses, but I take radical self-responsibility for what I choose now, how I respond, and what I choose coming next. Oh, Katie, we've got what's up, Queen. So come on up.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Mama T. Well, one, I loved Laws of Abundance. Thank you for sharing your laws with us. And the second thing is my life feels so abundant, and I feel really solid in myself, in how I'm showing up in my life and day to day. And I was swimming in the ocean the other day, and I was so grateful I had the ability to like have debt to pay for the things that I've done. But I would love your insight on when life feels so abundant and money doesn't. Like, and I feel like it's coming and I'm not there yet. And maybe there's a piece of the puzzle missing, but life, myself, like I feel solid and abundant. Money, I love you, but you do not right now.
Yeah. Okay, so this is interesting. I was having this thought while I was driving the other day, and I was like, and I couldn't remember the thought. I was like, oh, I actually want to start the laws of abundance Q&A with this thought I was having. And then today I was like, what was that thought I was having? And you brought up the thought. And there's part of it that's connected, but there's another way we're going to take it as well. But one thing I think even to look at, so how this came up for me is I had a girlfriend ask me recently, like she was like, do you like ever have any like stress around money, like feel that there's months where money is tight or stretching, and we had a conversation, and she's like, or is there like so much money in your bank account that you don't feel that way? And I sat with myself for a minute, and I was like, actually, what makes me feel the most expanded with money and abundant with money? I mean, I told you guys in this space that I was $200,000 in debt when I first started to work with Melanie, and that debt's been paid off, but I still have access to all the channels of like the credit card and the line of credit. And I was like, that's actually what allows me to feel really expansive with money and abundant with money, is knowing that in any moment, like that there was debt, that there was this much amount of debt, and then I was able to pay it off, and then I have access to it again if I desire to have access to it. And so it really just became, there's trust with money that I have, there's trust with money I don't have, there's trust with money that people lend to me. And the reason why I wanted to bring it in this conversation with what you asked there is because what I really recognize is that the feeling of abundance isn't dependent on a number in my bank account. It's really is like, for me, I feel abundance when there's like access to money in different ways. And I know this feels different for each person. So it's like, what is like your true definition of abundance? I would look at. And, one thing that you said very clearly, you're like, I feel abundant in all the ways, but it's not showing up in money yet. And it's like, can we allow, like, I feel like it's coming. Like you said, I know it's coming, but then it's like, where are you? Why isn't it here yet? And this is where I actually wrote this earlier today in a Voxer group, and I'm going to share it here with you today. It's like, but then there's that energy of like, I want what I want, and I want it now. And I have that energy. It's like, I want to have the evidence. I don't want to keep just knowing and trusting. Like, I want the money in my bank account. I want what I want, and I want it now. And I sat with that feeling for myself. And honestly, like the words that came through, I'm going to read you the exact words so that you can hear it. And exactly the words that I felt was, so move through the illusion that you can't have it.
Okay.
And then that left me with, where am I telling myself that, again, I need to do something before I can have the thing that I desire, or that I need a certain result do you know what I mean? Like that I started to look within myself as like, oh yeah, where am I telling myself that I can't have it right now? Because when we tell ourselves we can't have it right now, we're also, even if it's not here in physical form yet, by telling yourself that you can't have it now, or there's something that needs to happen first, or something you need to do, then the manifestation process just takes longer.
And the one other thought I had, the same ocean day, I feel like I'm really being called to just be in the moment, which I struggle to do in general. And I'm really leaning into it. It's when I have the free time. I mean, I went to the beach like, I don't know, 5 days this week, like starting on the weekend, but I've gone every day except today. And I just go for a walk and I swim in the ocean, and I'm like, oh, it's not always going to be like this. Like, soak it up, like enjoy this moment where you get to be. And when I was having the thought on debt and money and trying to pay it off, I also had the thought of, if I need to be doing something right now, please reveal that to me. And I kind of question myself, like, why is it so hard for you to be and to trust?
So one thing that came up for me there, as you said that, well, there's two things that I want to make sure that we don't code in for you that's not creating limitation. So right now it's like, I feel free and I'm going to the beach every day. Do you think that there could be anything creeping in of like, but if I was more successful, if I had all these clients, if I had this, I wouldn't have time to be free and go to the beach every day?
I understand what you're saying and asking, and I mean, my prayer is no, right? Like, do I think it would be as often as I'm doing it? Maybe not. I have quite a bit of free time on my hands right now, which doesn't mean I can't continue to have that, but I have an abundant amount of free time as of this season of my life. And so it doesn't mean that that has to change if work looks different, but if the work I'm doing currently got busy, I wouldn't have the time to do what I'm doing.
Yeah. And so I think like, and the reason why I just wanted to like highlight that for you too is like in the like that we keep everything in this I get to frequency as well. So like I get to have days where I sometimes go to the beach, and I get to have days where I'm full with clients and I don't have time to go to the beach, but then I'm being fulfilled in that way. So then my days are spent moments fulfilled at the beach and moments filled with clients, that everything keeps in this frequency of abundance was the first thing that I wanted to highlight there. And there was something else. Can you give me a bit more of what you asked to see if it comes back for me?
Oof. I don't know if I remember.
You were like, when you were
Think
saying, like, I go to the beach.
Oh, do I need to be doing something? Why can't I just be and allow myself to enjoy this season without wondering, like, hey, is there something I need to be doing?
That was exactly, it was the other piece. Like the other thing I was going to say, is there anything coming in for you around like, well, of course you're not going to just like be successful and have a quantum leap because you're spending your days at the beach. Like you're not learning, you're not hustling, you don't have your head down, you're not doing.
I think in a sense, yes, because I know if my dad knew how I spent my days, he would, like, I wouldn't hear the end of it, And so I think, I mean, now that you're asking me, like, I personally don't feel shame, but I also don't share what my days are like with my parents, And so I'm really enjoying and loving this season of my life, but even sometimes comments my dad makes, it's like, okay, that was so unnecessary for you to say that to me. Like there was nothing positive from those words whatsoever, And so, I guess, yes, in a sense.
Yeah. So the thing that I would play with here then is like that you are right now giving yourself the opportunity to like code in new ways of being, new stories, new, ways of operating because what I feel could happen if you didn't have this time to code in like how important it is for you to go to the beach, how important it is for you to be in being energy, is that you could very easily, have success come and it's like more on top of more in the sense of like more on your plate, more to do. Then you go into like self-sacrifice, and then you go into burnout, and then you want to the success that you dreamed of, you want to like flush down the toilet. And so this is where I look at, again, if I'm looking through the lens of abundance, I'm looking at like, what am I coding in right now? Okay, I'm coding in the importance of being energy. I'm coding in the importance of play. I'm coding in the importance of like putting my frequency first. And I'm coding in this I get to frequency that Jack talks about. I'm coding in I get to have clients, and I get to go to the beach. I get to be successful, and I get to live my life. And I mean, I think we've just had for so long examples of the opposite, like of this not being true, like that we have to sacrifice, we have to, like the doing equals the receiving. And so of course it feels uncomfortable. Like it feels uncomfortable to be like, I'm over here twiddling my thumbs and I'm at the beach and I'm not doing something, but my whole life I've been taught and told I need to do to receive. And so there is the uncomfortable moments while you recode this.
Yeah. And something huge for me, so just a thank you again, is changing, oh, I have to I get to. And it's been really cool because I've seen it firsthand. I rarely say I have to do something anymore. I'm like, oh, I get to go do this. Like, oh, yay, thank you, And so thanks for the rewording of that, because I think it's a really big shift for me personally.
And I think it's so interesting, like when we think like, oh, sometimes they think like they're just words, but like if you can like literally eliminate like should, have to, need to, like that energy, like it does carry an energy that is not in alignment with like your soul's level desire of like how you're here to create. And so I choose to, I decide, I command, I want, like that for me is the powerful, like that energy has power behind it. I desire, I get, like that's very different than like, oh, I should, because then it entangles, I should do this in order to receive, and creates that coding that we're trying to like disentangle here.
And I think just circling back to the self-responsibility you mentioned, it's like you get to, and I think it all kind of like stacks on each other, and you're right, you feel so much power in those moments.
And that's it, like, it's like, I mean, I love to go spend my days at the beach and to go surf. And there's lots of days where I do that. And then yesterday, for an example, for me, I usually the first day of the week, so usually Mondays, but Monday was a holiday. So Tuesday is when I have like all my Voxer clients. So it's already a fullish day for me in terms of mentorship. And then there was like an explosion with my kids go to a forest school here when we're here in the fall, and there was like an explosion there, and it was like, okay, like I am also a leader who can hold multiple things at once and who can boss, and all of a sudden be like, we're jumping on a meeting 4 hours later with 12 parents, because like, it's like we just get to recognize like that we get to like actually like do it all and hold a lot. And there's days like I didn't go to the lake yesterday for a swim, and I'll go to the lake today after this call for a swim. But it's like it didn't feel like yesterday then in a sacrifice energy. It felt like I'm in my power with this. Like I can do this, and I can choose this, and I can move things around, because I take radical self-responsibility also for the things that I choose to invest my time and energy. And like my kids' school was important to me to have that conversation with parents last night. So see what happens. What I could shift it from people couldn't have communication. Now we need to have an extra meeting, and now I can't go to the lake, and because of this, and because of blah, 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 and all the downward spiral. Or it's like, oh no, I get to step into my leadership here right now. I get to call other people into their leadership. We get to get this like tidied and settled, and then I get to like move on with my day, my life.
Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Shakti, you are up next, please.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so I am moving through a death rebirth portal right now, and there's a lot behind it. My mom almost didn't have me. She lost many babies before me. Her mom lost many babies as well, and part of me, what lives, is the identity of a child who was being lost, and the identity of mother who was going to lose baby. So it's like all in me. And then since yesterday, it's so interesting that we live in the forest, and on our tree, there is I don't know what it is, but basically, literally, squirrel babies are falling down, and out of them, they died, and two are survived. One is right next to me. So I am kind of processing and moving through this death and rebirth portal. And I have manifested a lot of things in my life, including the retreat property I am on right now. That whole teaching of keep your one foot in desire and one foot in gratitude has been my life. And I'm realizing that this idea, this kind of void, being in the space of void where the new hasn't been born, is very hard on me, because I become the baby who has to survive now. And then on the other side, it's also you created something, and then that being taken away also affects me. Like my whole business got wiped off during the pandemic, and I'm still in the process of getting it going. So I'm wondering how do I step into an identity that makes me, that is more empowering, especially when I'm traversing these voids and these things being taken away from me.
So if we bring this into the context of abundance, because this is like what we're going to bring everything into, and these questions in through the lens of the laws of abundance. What, like, if you look at the experiences that you've just shared with me here, do you feel like there's like a lens that you're typically looking at the world through? Like, do you feel like you look at the world through the lens of possibility? Do you look at the world through the lens of abundance? Do you look at the world a bit more through the lens of avoidance? Like, I want to avoid that disappointment. I want to avoid that hurt. I want to, like, so I hold back. Like, where would you say, like, what feels like that is true for you then?
I think it's 100% fear and it's 100% survival.
And so when we talked in the laws of abundance, like and I asked you guys that question, like if you knew that your success was inevitable, if you knew, the fourth law that we talked about is that money's responding to you and your energy, and you dictate how money flows. So if you knew that your success was inevitable, if you knew that abundance was making its way to you, if you knew that you were the one that gets to recode this for your lineage, for your family, that life is about loss and we need to fear losing. Like if you were the one that gets to recode this, if you knew that it was inevitable, that your desires are making their way to you, do you feel like that would shift anything for you in the way you show up, in what you do, and what you believe, and what you speak, and what you know?
I think it would, and it does, but I feel like this identity is just so ingrained that it creates that limit so easily, and I lose that train and then fall here in the void again.
Did you do the activation yet?
Yes.
And when you were in the activation, like, did you feel like you could connect to like you as a wealthy woman? Do you feel like you could connect to yourself as like living the life that you desire?
I do. It's just that it comes and goes.
Okay,
And
so
in the void, then that vision is lost. And I know I am on that threshold of creating even bigger vision right now. I know this is all, I am in abundance. I have done this many, many times before. It's just this, how do I traverse this, like when I fall down in the void?
yeah, so this is okay. So I'm happy that like I asked that question, because here's the thing is sometimes people say like I actually couldn't connect to that version of myself. So it's not like you don't experience that version of you. It's not that you don't see that version of you. It's like it's touch and go. It's like she's there and then she's gone. And then, I mean, this is what often happens, and this happens for many of us. It's like there's moments when I'm really connected to who I am. I'm connected in truth. I feel like the resonance of truth in my soul. I know that I'm abundant. I know that I'm divine. And then I have very real human moments and human experiences. And I look at my bank account and whatever it is, I look at all these things that tell me otherwise. And so I touch this energy, but I'm not like really like truly like living in this energy. And so for me, the biggest thing here is always like, how can I come back into like remembrance more often? How can I come back to my truth more often? How can I connect with my wealthy woman more often? And so starting to recognize like the patterns, like, oh, when this happens, it takes me out. When I experience this puts me into like that old story, that old identity that I am now committed to recoding. And it's got to be like, I am committed to recoding this. So I see when that old story comes in. I see when that old identity, I see when that old pattern is here. And so what can I do to remind myself right now of my divine nature? What can I do to remind myself right now that the universe is abundant, that the universe is there, that God's here providing for me? And that will look different for every one of us. Like maybe it's going out and sitting in nature and you see the squirrels and you touch your hand on the tree and you remember like who you are. You remember the abundance of God. For me, the quickest way into remembrance of who I am, who we all are, is always through reading spiritual texts. And it's like I like have things that like in a moment you're like, okay, wait, I've just forgotten. I've got out of touch with the soul knowing right now. Let me bring myself back into my soul knowing, which you've already actually experienced.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's also, in addition to all that, it's also starting to relate with the void differently.
Starting to relate with what differently? Sorry?
The void,
The void.
the loss, the death, the letting go in a different way, which I haven't learned just yet.
Yeah. You know, a book that I've been recommending a lot to people. I read it after my dad died, and so it to me it's connected. It's called Home with God, and it is like a book that I would recommend to people like after they've had someone die. But honestly, it feels like to me like it's more a manual for living. Like it is about living and life. And so I would recommend, you know, if that feels like a connection to you, to read a book like that. But I think like the big thing that I feel here in this is remembering that and I said this earlier, like we just see through like we see a fraction. We see a fraction of what's truly going on. We see a fraction with our human eyes and from this human lens. So we tend to see things as right and wrong. We tend to have, you know, feelings around death and around loss because we see things as like right, wrong, good, bad, should be, shouldn't be. And this is why that invitation to come back to like soul knowing and soul truth again and again and again, and not as a way of bypassing. Like, of course, my human gets to be sad and have moments of sadness and tears, you know, with the fact like I can't just reach out and touch my dad's physical body and give him a hug anymore. And so that I get to have the moments of sadness and the tears and the heartbreak. And I come back into my like soul knowing that like he's right here. I come back into my soul knowing of like what I know, what I believe about our existence beyond this realm.
Yeah. How do you allow your body to grieve when she goes, or if ever she goes into this resistance to grieving? Because I mean, I am quite gifted intuitively, so soul connection is definitely part of my practice, but I feel like it's this like inner, very unconsciously, that whole pattern plays out when the body resists grieving and the mind takes over. Is there a practice that could allow softening and surrendering?
So, I mean, I also believe like our body again always knows what to do. Our body knows how to let go of the emotion. Our body knows how to grieve. Our body knows how. We come in again often through our mind with like the human resistance. I would play with like different tools, different modalities. Like there's different things for everyone, like breath work, you know, breath work, any type of like energy, like the activations, the energy clearings there. Like I would play with different tools that and see what just actually feels good for you. Like for someone, it's going to be floating in the ocean, you know, and for someone else, it's going to be like floating in the ocean does nothing. And I need to go to an intense breath work session. I'm personally someone like breath work isn't actually it for me. And because we're not all like the same.
Yeah.
Somatic movement, ecstatic dance. I love ecstatic dance. That's what I mean. Like there's like I would allow yourself to like play and know that there is, because I think what's important that I'm trying to get across here, like there is no right, there is no solution, because there is also nothing wrong. And so it's like what allows you to feel good, what allows you to process, what allows you to let go, what allows you to release. And this is the beautiful thing about all the different tools and practices that we have: self-pleasure, somatic healing, breath work, Reiki, activations, energy clearings, like everything works and different things work for different people.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're so welcome. The book that I said was Home with God, and it's by Neil Donald Walsh. Okay, Melanie, you were up next.
Hi,
Hi.
so nice to talk to you.
It is fabulous to talk to you as well.
Sorry, I was so in tune with the previous question that I was like, okay, what is my question? Hold on, let me read it. My question is, I have a scarcity mindset around money. However, I have saved like $13,000 three times in my life. It's either been stolen or just having to be used for other things. So money comes and money goes for me. However, I feel it's that scarcity mindset that led me to save the $13,000.
Yeah.
I just want to know your thoughts on this. I don't necessarily have a question, but I suppose my question would be, how could I shift that energy, one from scarcity to abundance, while I'm still saving that $13,000?
Okay. So I have a couple of things for you here. So when you're saving the $13,000, does it feel like, again, like coming back to like, does it feel like an I get to frequency? Does it feel like you need to do it to like show that you're disciplined? Do you need to like, does it feel hard? Like, what's the energy within the saving it for you?
It's not one of celebration and I get to, it's more of I have to. And the why behind it, I think for me is security, safety, like things might fall out from under me energy.
Okay. So does this feel accurate? Like I have to save $13,000 so that it can be used when it needs to be used for emergencies or however it gets like, but it's like almost in this like I have to save it so that it can be taken away because it's inevitable that it's going to be taken away. And so I better save it so that when it's someone comes to take it away, it's there. Because if I don't save it and they come to take it away, then what happens?
What happens if I have the energy of if I save it and it doesn't get taken away?
I'm just saying, like, do you feel like that energy that I just shared, would you feel like that's like accurate for you? That there's this like I've got to save it, but with the expectation that it's going to be taken away.
I don't think there's an expectation there that it's going to get taken away, but there's definitely this is great questions. I don't know. I think part of it's attached to my ability to purchase things for myself. For instance, like I have the money for Impact Academy and I purchased it. Super excited, by the way. However, I woke up this morning like, oh my God, I just spent, an abundant amount of money. Even though I have the money there, there's still that scarcity, like, oh my God, I didn't save it. Just
And what would it feel like for you? Let's say that you didn't save it and that you wanted to purchase Impact Academy and it just felt like not purchasing Impact Academy feels like I'm denying my soul and doesn't feel good. And so therefore I'm going to put it on a credit card, which means like there would be debt within this purchase. Like what does debt feel like for you? Like a big hell no?
I have debt. I did purchase it with a credit card, though I could pay it off. But debt for me is like, yes, I have to pay it off. Like I have loosened I guess, I don't know if it's a control thing, but I have loosened my grip around debt. But it still feels like even as I'm talking about it, I'm noticing my throat closing and my chest like tightening.
Yeah. My feel for you, and the reason why I wanted to ask the deck, because I just thought it'll bring in like a different lens from this too, is that there's my feel is that there's like a story that you're telling yourself around like what it means to be responsible with money, what it means to be deserving of money, what you need to do in order to receive money, what you need to do in order to hold money. And so if you have $13,000 in the bank account, my feels is that there's probably somewhere energetically for you that there's like, okay, good girl, like you did it, you're doing it right, and pat things on the back, and okay, like, and now and if you told someone that you bought Impact's Academy, well, they wouldn't be able to say that was a dumb decision because you put it on your credit card, like whatever it is. There's this like, it feels like this energy of like, I'm doing it right.
Yeah. I can resonate with that energy holistically, like this pressure I have on myself to like do it right.
Yeah. And this is where, to me, like there isn't a right and wrong way to wealth. There isn't a right and wrong way with money. And I mean, I could say this about everything, like that we get caught up in this idea and this energy of right and wrong. So then we go to our head and then we got to figure it out and then we got to do the thing and then we have to have the result so that we get the validation, so that we know that we did it right, so that we like all of the things get really entangled here. And what this blocks for me in like the money sequence and the money energetics, like I feel for me, this was my story, and I feel for many people that I work with, and likely for many people here, like before you begin to stack wealth and create like more on top of more and in this energy, it's also being in, who said it earlier, like the 1 foot in gratitude and the 1 foot in desire, like being grateful for being a conduit for money. Like being a conduit for money is incredible. Like and listen to your own right now as I say this, like everyone, as I say, like money in, money out, being that conduit for money, being the person who moves money, like that is cause for celebration. Most people don't see it for cause of celebration. Most people see it as like, oh no. Most people see it as lack. Most people say like, well, if money comes in and money goes out, I'm doing it wrong. Well, money in, money out is the first experience of money actually being free in your energy field. Money comes in and money goes out, and money's free here. And there's this like freedom with money, because as money goes out, it's celebrated because I know more money gets to come in. And so all of a sudden the energy is like comes into gratitude for the money that exists, not the energy of like, money comes in, but it always goes out. Money comes in, but it always leaves me. Money comes in, but I can't hang on to it. That's one frequency versus money's coming in and money's going out, and money's coming in and money's going out because money is free. And one day more money's going to come in, and maybe the same amount of money is going out, but more money's coming in. So then that's when we start to stack money and stack wealth.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, we have Aline up next.
Hi, Jacqueline. Can you see me?
Hello.
Okay.
Hi.
Can you see me? Hi.
Yes, I can.
So my question is about staying power, right? So I'm about to launch a business. I left my corporate job. I feel really good about that. I feel like doors are opening. I feel like opportunities are coming, insights are coming, downloads, programs, things to do for the first time in a really long time. And that feels really refreshing. And it feels like every single time I go and I do that, or something like that, a situation like that happens, because it's happened like that before, something comes in and there's a duality and it knocks me off of my feet, and like out goes the energy, right? I'm a 5/2 manifester, and so my energy ebbs and flows kind of thing. And so when it's really high, it's really high. When it's really low, it's really low. But something like there's a huge leak that comes out. And like, for example, I'm going to give you an example. Yesterday, I had this huge idea of doing a 21-day challenge and doing, with all these people and I was super excited, super, into it. And then this morning, something happened with my dad, and I had to go and take him to the ER. He's fine. It turned out as a better experience than it has been in the past. Nothing was wrong. Nothing could have gone even better. And I handled the situation completely better, not only with myself, but with my family, which is a huge win for the past. Like, it's a huge recognition for the past. However, that that like desire, that like get to that, all that build up pressure of really good pressure is out the window. How do I get that back? How do I keep that? How do I I don't know. How do I make it, you know what I mean? How do I get back into that mind game or that heart game?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing to start with is knowing that like it isn't truly gone. Like just because you're not feeling it right now, because life happens, life happens. We go through different seasons of energy, and whether it's something outside that happens, like your experience with your dad, or whether you're like, this idea came in and I was like at the height of creativity and flow, and then I woke up the next day and I kind of felt in the line 2 energy. I felt in like the hermit energy. Again, it comes back to like, what do we make it mean? We make it mean something like, oh, the fact that because for me, I don't see that there to be a problem, that like the energy's there and then it goes away for a bit and then it gets to come back. But often we just cut it off because we then tell ourselves like, oh, see, like I can't hold the energy. I can't sustain the energy. The energy was there, but then it's gone. I need to figure it out. I need to go to my head. I need to force it. I need to, make it come back. So often this is where we get into control. We get into forcing. We get into like, I need that to come back, or we start to tell her whatever it is, like feel shame or feel like, what we make it mean something. Remember that conversation we had earlier? It's like, what do we make it mean when we're in a moment where it's like, okay, the energy just isn't activating me right now. So there's a few things. There's like allowing the natural like seasons and trusting in the like your rhythm. So if you're in a line 2 energy, it's like trusting in that. When something happens like in your day to day, for me, that's like, okay, this is like not the way I would have chosen the way for things to go. This is not, I was in such a creative flow, and this is also my life. Like this is what happened today, and this was the experience. What's going to serve me right now is to go rest for the rest of the day and then wake up tomorrow and create spaciousness to like actually like allow myself to get back in creative flow. Is it going to serve me right now to clear my schedule for 4 hours tomorrow so I can go sit by a lake and like come back into a space where I allow energy? What tends to happen when we get like out of the energy is then we get into the doing mode. We get into the hustle mode. We get into the forcing mode. We get in the, I've got to get it back. I've got to create and this is actually the time where it's like create spaciousness to let things come back.
Okay. And how do we create that spaciousness? Because obviously like there's financial concerns, right? There's bills coming up, there's things to pay for, there's all these things that I have to get done, and I want to get done by the end of the month because money kind of is running thin, and I have these deadlines, and yes, I want everything now. But then when I get into that, like when I'm in that get to energy, I'm not thinking about the money. Like I am like, oh my God, I get to do this. This is so exciting. Let's go right now. I want everybody to come with me. And then I get out of that energy. And then it goes back to the like, it's like what you said, I have the deadlines, the financials, all of that. And like, I have a really hard time unmangling those those issues because it's a lot of the programming that I've had in my family. Like, how dare you not do anything and receive money in the process? Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of that.
Do you believe that people feel the energetics of things? Like, do you believe that people feel frequency first? Like that you feel my frequency?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you
Yeah,
believe?
I like, that's one of the things that like you make that spaciousness so beautiful. Like it's just bliss for me. Like when I'm in your energy and when you're talking, that's what I want.
Okay, so let me take you through this process. So we believe in frequency first. Do you believe in, when I said money responds, like the law number 4, that money responds to your energy?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you believe that God responds to your energy?
Yes.
Do you believe that ideas respond to your energy?
What do you mean by that?
Like if you're all cut up and chaotic, that there's like ideas aren't flowing, but if you're in a place where you're like open to receive, that's when ideas come in.
Yes. I'm rarely there.
Okay.
I'm rare. Yeah, my mind is very cluttered.
Okay. So if maybe like I haven't had that experience, but it's like, so basically like through these questions, it's in the like, we've got to know first for what I'm about to share with you, that it's like, you've got to have the beliefs that we live in a world made of energy, that things are responding at an energetic level. And so when you say to me, like, how did you word it? You were like, to create, the spaciousness when there's bills to pay. And it's like, so you got to get out there and like make it happen and do, like, which one, like you gave me kind of two different scenarios. And it's like, which feels better in your energy field? Which feels better for you to do?
For me, just like I get the best ideas or the best the best influx of energy when I'm out, like walking the dog or outside or not doing anything, sitting on my balcony, just thinking, just contemplating, or in a bath. Like
Yeah.
that's when they flow in. That's when it flows in.
So this is exactly what I say when I was like, ideas respond to your energy. So when you're in a place where you're available to receive, where you're listening, where you're rested, where you're at peace, like that's a frequency. Now, ideas are responding to that frequency because, like you said, the ideas come in when you're in that energy. Well, guess what? Soul clients respond to that frequency. Money responds to that frequency. The thing is, we often see and we connect to like, oh, money came in when I was in the doing energy, but it's backed by the ideas that come in the being energy, the trust that comes in the being energy. And so this is why we have it so coded that money comes in as a result of doing. And for me, like, when you say like you feel my energy right away, like I know for myself, like the most important thing I do is honor my energy. And it's very much frequency first. The question is, how does this affect my energy field? How does this affect my frequency? Does it shrink things? Does it create restriction? Does it create limitation? Does it create expansion? Just like we talked about throughout this course. And so I look at, if I do things from the nature of I should, I have to, I need to, I've got to figure this out by the end of the month. The timeline's getting close. I play in one energy field, and it's in the realm of like logic and predictability and practical and make it all make sense. Well, then the ideas tend to come and make sense and practical and logical. I'm inviting God to play with me in the playground of practical and logical. Whereas if I can open myself up and stay in the realm of possibility and expansion, well, that's where I invite God to meet me. That's where I invite God to play.
Okay. So that's kind of like if I'm only limiting that space of where I invite God to come and play with me, then it's kind of, because the feeling is this, is like I feel that the money, I just like the other person was sharing, there's an abundance of time, there's an abundance of things. I feel like I'm very abundant right now in many areas of my life, but I feel like it's 3 inches away, and it's right there, and there's an invisible line around me, like a big sphere that's not allowing it to come in. Is it the ideas? Is it because I'm limiting and forcing how I'm allowing God to come in? Or is it like, what is it?
So this is where I make things really simple. Like this is where I make things really simple in the sense, and I saw a question a little bit earlier that I'm going to bring into this as well. It's where this is like, remember I said at the beginning of the call where I'm like, my mind doesn't have to get it. This is why the question here, the comment was, the more I take money courses, like the harder money feels. Like it says, I wonder about this too. I was in a way better financial position before I started learning about money mindset, because we tend to make it about money mindset. We limit it to like what our mind can figure out, what our mind can get behind. So for me, and like this is literally part of my journey, and sometimes I feel like when I say this, like you want to be like, Jack, come on, like there's got to be something more to this. But like this is when prayers would come in, and like the prayers of like, God, blow my mind, universe, blow my mind. Like I can feel it. I know it's right there. I feel it existing. I can't see it. I don't know how to make it happen. Like, and I let, like, this is where that surrender truly happens. This is where I let go of the control. This is where I'm open to like, let's actually play in the realm of like magic and miracles. Let's not get my mindset right in this.
Okay.
Like this is where, like, even I just think it's interesting that word that came up, like money mindset. It's like we limit things when we try to get it right is what it feels like. So it's like, how do I get my mindset right? How do I get this right? How do I figure this out? How do I, like, this is all elements of control. How do I make it happen? How do I control this? How do I unlock this? How do I do this? And I mean, this is why I started off the conversation. Like, can we actually get out of our mind? Can you allow your mind to be blown? Can you allow yourself to not figure it out and move all the pieces up here?
Yeah, for me, it's like, how do I get it here?
Here?
Like,
is that what you said?
Like here, like, how do I get it? How do I have access? Like, how do I get it? How do I get it here? Like,
The money?
Yeah, like the openness of me being guided to where I need to go to do what I need to do, and being open to what that looks like. I don't have an idea of what that looks like. And I have all these ideas popping up into my head, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a certain one or all of them or none of them. Like, I'm open to how it plays out. It's just like it feels like I'm always chasing the carrot.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to say and how to get it here, and let me know if this like lands for you. But when I use words and say, like, I can trust that the universe is conspiring in my favor, I can trust that God's conspiring in my favor, I can trust that there's things happening I can't yet see, I also always back this with, because I'm conspiring in my favor. And what that means is, like, I follow like frequency first. I follow the nudges of my soul. I listen to my intuition. I don't go up to my head. I don't not do it because I'm afraid of judgment. I don't hold back. I don't play to not lose. Like, I'm so willing. I'm willing to speak my truth and be judged. I'm willing to put the idea and the offer out there that people might think I'm insane about. And I'm willing to say the things that people might judge me for. Like, I'm so willing when it comes from the place of, like, I felt the intuition to do this. I felt like the call to do this offer, and this offer seems like insane, and I like, who knows, but if, like, I don't attach the energy. And so it's like, I'm always in motion in this way. There's like the being energy and the stillness and the receiving and the ideas that come in, and then there's the like action, there's the motion. But the action isn't in should, have to, need to in order for people to buy. It's like, you had this idea to go live about the thing, like, I go live about the thing. I don't let myself go to, and this did not used to be the case. And this is why I'm sharing in this way, that it's so important. When I was at a place where money was feeling very hard, I questioned everything. It's like, okay, I had this idea to go live about the thing, but oh my gosh, like, does anyone really even care to talk about it? And what would I say? And am I going to sound stupid? And is anyone going to watch? And then is this, and does it even make sense? Like, why would I go live and talk about money when I don't have a money court? Like, you know, like, I would bring everything into such a complicated energy. And this is where it's like, can I let it be simple? I have an idea, I move with it. I have a thought, I speak it. I have a, you know, whatever it is. And I let the energy continue to move, because the thing is, once energy moves, well, more gets to come in. So it's like, once I follow through on the idea that I get that feels like just this like splenic hit or this pain, it's like, I move on that idea. Well, guess what? I've just opened up space for the next idea and the next idea and the next idea. And then I see it all as part of it. I don't see like, well, those 10 lives I did were a waste of time because no one bought those 10 days. It's like, no, those 10 days were building the energy. And so the sale that comes in the next day is because I followed my intuition on the last 10 days. Do you know what I mean? It's like, everything's always like moving. Everything's looked at through energy. Everything's looked at through this like frequency first energy. Everything contributes. Everything's part of the story. The person who bought a $14 masterclass from me in the beginning is part of my story of like creating millions in this industry in this lifetime.
Okay. And then the fear of always, like, because I'm following my bliss in all these ideas that I'm running after, the energy of always having the energy be there is also a fear. Right? Like, as a 5, like because I go through these dips, like managing, because one of the biggest thing for me is, like, I have all these ideas, everybody gets behind them, and then it gets bottlenecked because I can't deliver on all of them, and I'm not really technically supposed to, right? Like I'm not the one. I like to delegate. I'm not the one who follows through, and I'm not the busy bee, right?
What's your energy type?
I'm a manifester.
A manifestor. Okay, so it's like the things, and so it's like
I'm splenic, and I'm a manifester, and I'm 5'2".
yeah, so it's like, this is like really following those splenic pings, not getting caught up in the fear that can be connected with the splenic pings. It's like I follow through on the splenic pings, like I get things into motion, I put things out there. Don't tell yourself any stories about what you don't do that's not enough. It's like allow yourself to get things into motion. When you go into like that line 2 energy, I think like really stop, like don't tell yourself that story of like, oh, you've just cut off that energy. It's like as a line, if I was a manifestor with a line 2, like this is how I play with human design. It's like, what story can I tell myself that actually serves me? If we're going to tell ourselves stories, we might as well tell ourselves stories that serve us, because you're telling yourself a story anyways. So like the story I would tell myself is like, I'm a manifestor. My energy goes in cycles. I don't have sacral energy. So I go out and I initiate things and I bring the energy, and then I go into a hermit phase, and I'm letting everyone else catch up to my energy because I'm a manifestor. So my ideas are ahead of the time anyway. So when I go into hermit energy, I'm allowing people to catch up, and then I'm, marinating everything, and everything's building. So when I come back out again, people can connect with me right there because they've had time to hear what I first said, and they've had time to go in their own contemplations and feel it into their energy. So when I bring it forth for a second time, it's like activates their sacral energy. Do you see what I mean here? Like I tell myself stories like this that serve me. And that's like truly what I do. When I'm like recoding things, it's like, how can I like get my energy field behind how I'm actually operating is in service of me, is a good thing.
Okay.
Like that story that I had, like I tell myself all the time, like, of course the universe is conspiring in my favor because I'm conspiring in my favor. Like, it's like I bring things in. So a great story that I tell myself, you guys, is I use social media very differently than a lot of people use social media. And this is like coming up to Impact Academy again, because I look at things through energetics. And so I've, the idea that like you need to show up consistently, which in this industry for was a long time, like you need to post by 3 p.m. every day. You need to have always however many stories you need to have up. Well, I started to notice when I don't like to be on social media all the time. Like I just don't. And it felt like a should and a have to and a need. And so I was like, how can I make this work for me? I've got to get my belief codes behind the way I use things. And so I started to tell myself this story where I was like, the days that I'm not on social media, like people then are like, what's she up to over there? Like, oh, I haven't seen her for 5 days. Like, where is she? What's she doing? What's happening over there in life? And then I'll come online after not posting for 4 days. I mean, this is probably true right now. If we look at my stories, I haven't been on my stories since last Friday. I posted stories right before this call. And let's just take a look. I don't even usually look at numbers, but I do in this way because it feels fun for me. Usually if I go off, so this is the evidence now that I have created for myself, because I had this belief first that when I'm offline, people are curious about what I'm doing. So when I come back on, they're always watching. When I don't post stories for like 4 days, I usually have triple to quadruple the number of people that like these stories I posted 2 hours ago. And I already have the number of people that have seen them that usually see my stories in an entire day if I post every day. And so sharing that from the thing of like, not about social media even, but just in the like, I tell myself a story that ends up working out for me because I'm going to choose that thing anyways. So I'm going to believe something good about it versus believing, and this is what my old belief code was like, you just didn't post on social media for 4 days. You're such a dump. You suck at this business. Why would anyone ever follow you? You couldn't get your energy behind there. No one's even going to care what you did. Everyone's forgot about you. Now, if you post something, you better make it the most epic thing you've ever said and done in your life. Otherwise, no one's going to care. So I can lead with that energy. Well, am I going to be successful? No. Or I can lead with the like, I'm going to tell myself a story that really works for me.
And is that the same in the beginning as it was right now? Like you showing up and you like taking yourself, because this would be the beginning for me, and I haven't been online for 2 years, and I'm just now coming on, and I've been doing lives every day, and I've been getting a lot of views and a lot of like interaction, and then I haven't in the last 48 hours. Is it the same in the beginning and as it is in a season, like a season business, or is it the same no matter what?
So again, I would tell myself a story that serves me here. I'd be like, I haven't been online for 2 years. I've gained a lot of wisdom, a lot of stories, a lot of experiences, a lot of knowledge to share to people. Like people have been waiting for this for me. Like people that don't even know I exist, like they've been waiting. I'm the answer to their prayers. Like they have been waiting for me, and I'm going to show up in my truth and my power, and I'm going to be the answer to their prayers.
Okay. Thank you for this
Awesome.
class and for this hot seat.
You're
Really.
welcome. You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to see how many hands that we have up right now because we're coming up on 90 minutes here. I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is there anyone with their hand up right now that is not able to make it on tomorrow's call? We have Marie. Okay, so we're going to bring Marie up today. We're going to you want to say you love my nails? Oh my gosh. Sorry. I had to just have a side here because my children hate them. And like the day I got them done, my daughter's like, can you please go back and get your nails back to blue? Like she just does not like them. But I do. So thank you. Okay. So we're going to bring Marie up and then we're going to complete for today. And then Jennifer, Kylie, and if someone on the Alpha Fem team can help me, like just to track names, Jennifer, Kylie, Martha, Lisa, Steph, will make sure that we have time and space for you to come join me tomorrow as well. Okay, Marie, you will be the last for today.
Oh, thank you so much. I won't be able to be there tomorrow, so I'm so happy to have like the place to ask some questions. A lot of questions when with like how can I manifest, but my question is more about like in a couple. How do you like like my story with money is I grew up in a house where we live with nothing. Like there's always like no money, but we always have everything that we need. Like, but the story was always that there's no money or there's like debt or everything, and they are paying it, and we will have always something on the table and everything. And my husband from him, like he grew up in a family who like put aside money, pay things, have like good money, like if you save money, it's good. If you have debt, that's not good. So we came from two different family, different coding, of course. And I always went like the wind. I never worried about having like not having enough money because I went into debt, and like my thing was to just, I will pay back like the longer time that I can. Like if I can took like 5 years, 6, 7, I will took the more payment that I can do, the smallest, because I knew that like I will pay it off. But for my husband, it was like, if you have debt, that's not good. Maybe it's not really from him. I think that's what he learned. But it was okay, like 3 years is very long, 4 years is long. So I always manifested money when I needed. Like if I was in debt, and then sometimes somehow I don't know where like money come in, and I have so many surprises that I can like tell the story in my life that was not like something that made me worried about. But for him, it's very sorry, it's very different.
Cool. I was like, wow, let's just celebrate here.
They bring the party here.
So all the money that just wants to do.
And I'm from Quebec, Canada, and Melanie's always tell often the story that like I'm French Canadian, so in Quebec there's small thing, don't do enough, don't do too much money, we're like small thing. It is really true that the thinking here is there, but I don't really have this block thing. I think that there's abundance, I don't have a lot of problem with going into debt, but with time, I just felt like I had bad money behavior. I did it again. So sorry. So
Don't be sorry. I feel like money's just trying to be like, it's just being like,
my
no,
way
come
of
on,
doing
just
things.
open, we're coming.
Yeah, my way of doing things are not like the good way to do it. That is not, is people are not thinking that I'm doing the things the right way, but because I'm not the one who can save money. And when something like broke down in the house, like 2 weeks ago, my refrigerator just shut down, and then I don't have any saving for that because I have debt, I have thing, but I know that money will come. But my husband will always have a little bit money on the side because he feel really better, is less stressed when he have. So he is the one who can pay for that. So that's that is right. That his way is right. And we don't like fight over there, but how can we manifest and go all the way like the things that we get when we have like bills together, when we have like mortgage together, when we have, and no, there's nothing wrong. I don't want my thing, I don't want him to have his thing, but how can we just, and I know that he, like me being in like this like personal growth since like 9-10 years, I know that he's doing his part and he's going at his rhythm. I know that. And he tried to be really more open about this whole thing of manifestation and waiting. He's like, okay. And but I know that he's stressed, and I've got like not contaminated, but I'm feeling that I'm not doing the thing wrong, but I know that if I need money will come. Like how to manifest like in this like partnership situation, like couple.
So this, I'm just trying to decide which angle I'm going to share from. It's the same message, and this is what I feel happens about partnership. It's like we get into a partnership, whether it's with, a spouse, a business partner, like a romantic relationship. It's like, okay, well, if we're in partnership, we're supposed to like be the same. We're supposed to think the same. We're supposed to have the same ideas. And even if we have different coding, like have the same values, operate the same way. And if we don't, it tends to be like, one person's right and one person's wrong, or it tends to be let's come and connect where we're the same. And when I said I was trying to figure out where I was like what angle, I'm gonna bring it in from a completely different angle, because I sometimes think this just helps things land. I ran up until 2022, I ran a business for 7 years, like a very successful business with my best friend. And in the beginning of our journey, it was like we led in where we were the same, because we're like, where we're the same, like that's where we come together. That's where it makes sense. That's where, it was easier to lead that way, I would say, but we were limited in who we were reaching because we were both just being part of who we were, because we were only sharing outwardly like who we were, where we were the same. Where we started to have a lot of growth in our business, where we had a lot of growth in our wealth journey, was when she fully owned who she was and I fully owned who I was. And we didn't try to make one person right or one person wrong. It's like, you get to be you and I get to be me. Now, bringing it in through that lens to then bring it in through like the money conversation and the relationship conversation. I feel like if there's ever well, he's doing it the right way because he had the money to buy the refrigerator. Well, that's not it. You're each doing it your own way. He has the money to buy the refrigerator because like then you get supported in going to like manifest the wild money and the creative money and the magic money. And he's got the like stable money covered, let's say. And so the thing is if you try to shift into like, well, let me save, let me have the stable money, then you're both going to create stable money and no one's playing in the realm of magic and miracle money. As you were sharing your story and you were sharing you're from Quebec, I'm from a small town in Ontario, like 3,000 people, and it's a farming community. And like, I make more money in a month than most people in that town do in a year. Like, that is just truth. And I always, and really like, even with, you know, my husband, again, very different money stories. He grew up in downtown Toronto and wealth and boarding school and, you know, like a very different experience. But I'm the one that feels in the realm of magic money and play money and expanded by money and not limited by money. And at first that was scary for him because it's like, well, wealth is created in this way and you've got to do this and you've got to have, you know, a stable job where you blah, 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 like all of the things. And now he's living a life where like we travel the world with our kids and on school, and he quit his job to start his passion business. And, you know, and he's getting to like now work on something that he loves every day. And that's going to grow another, it's in startup phase right now, but that's going to grow another like stream of income and wealth for us. But like I had to lead in the way like that was true for me and not let his money beliefs like impact my money beliefs, even when his made way more sense, like way more sense than what mine did. And there was times where even conversations would come in. And I remember this one time he said something like, my friend was over and he said something in like very clear. We're like standing in the kitchen. I was like, I don't actually believe that. And I'm like, you can believe that, but like I just like that can't be part of my energy field. It's like, and what I like lead and what I teach, like I can't look at things through the mentality of saving, to be honest. Like that just doesn't work for me because it doesn't expand me. This conversation we just had about frequency first, it's like I've got to look through and I would just have honest conversations. Like I know that that's what makes you feel like safe and comfortable, and like you do you in that realm, and I play in the realm of like manifestation and energetic, so I've got to keep my energy clean when it comes to money conversations as well. And it was just in that like owning my truth and owning my voice within our conversations around money. And ultimately was like, I trust in who he is and he gets to trust in who I am. And no, like we're all here. Like we are all here as unique individuals and unique souls. And yes, we're one and in unity and part of the collective, but it's like you have a soul mission here. You have a soul agenda here that he knows nothing about, that his soul, you know what I mean? Like that he knows nothing about. And so we can't cut that off so that you can be more like him because he's right.
Yeah, because you know
this idea that he's right.
Because I think that before, like we're together like since 20 years, like it's been a while. We go through a lot, but like sometimes now that was another thing for me. I was thinking like there's no problem, money will come and everything, but you know now sometimes I'm starting to feel a little bit more scared because I know that I have that. So if like money does not come this time, if that like, and you know I will do some bills come in and I will just put it aside and don't look at it because you know, and I say, okay, what do you think about why I don't put and each time that I tried, you know, I tried so many times to save, to put aside and to pay back, and then they have another things and okay, another thing, and then I'm going all back in all this like, and I said, oh, it is that some code that I have that, you know, when I paid like the debt or the everything, and then I go back in the same situation again, and I started to feel that in that situation I was the problem because the solution was like you did not save, like you cannot, why did you like do, and I don't live that big expensive life, and I don't want to think that a big expensive life is something that will block me from abundance, you know. It's not something that I want to think about. Like
what if I invited you to like not entangle with that energy that you just brought forth here? Like, what if you didn't even entangle with the like thought and the energy of like, well, if the money if the money isn't there at the end of the month, if then what's he gonna think? We're gonna come back full circle to the like, because of that. It's like, well, because I made this decision, then the money wasn't there. Because of that, my husband was right, and because of that I feel foolish, and because, you know, we can go down that way. Or what if it's like, again, it's like because I trusted in myself, because I didn't let the thoughts of doubt take over, because I stayed true to like holding the knowing that money is inevitable and success is inevitable. Because of that, I started to have gratitude for the money that's already existing. Because of that, I actually had gratitude for the debt because of what that's created. Because of that, I shifted my energetics and my frequency around money. Because of that, I became more open to receive. Because of that, magic money started to appear. You know what I'm saying here? It's like if we choose to entangle that energy in planning for, you know, the worst case scenario on the downward spiral of like all the negative that could come, you know, negative that could come from here, it's like, well, what if you played in the opposite energy field? What if you played in the imagine if? What if you played in the because of that? What if you played in the like, again, that's one story I can tell myself, but like the bad thing can happen. I can also tell myself the story about the magical thing that happened and put more energy towards it.
Just coming back to all the moment that I just attract this money like coming from nowhere. Like there was once in particular that I was never saw coming, like, and that was a huge deal like of money, and I didn't like, and it seems that like I it's like if I think that was like I was lucky, and somehow I started to think like in my business I grew a big business, and you know, like maybe quicker than people will do it, but and like one time maybe someone, oh, like you were lucky because you found this in first, and then I start feeling like I was lucky, but not that I was attracting the goods, but oh, that okay, maybe I'm not awarding it because how does it comes to me like that? I was so lucky. And then the more that I doing this story in my head, the more like the things going down way, and all the things are getting more stressful with money. And I was thinking about what you will think about it, but I know he never said something to me, like it's not the thing. He tried to understand things, but I started to put that on, maybe I'm just lucky, and luck will not be there always. But before I was so like, I think in human design, my conscious son, the thing, the gift that is more like stronger for me is in like the gift of innocence. I really like, I'm not so aware of everything. I know that it will be there, take care of. I know, but with time, with kids, with responsibilities, with husband, with people around, you know, I've just tried to downside those things, and maybe thinking that maybe I was just lucky.
And what if like that doesn't even exist? Like what if luck doesn't exist? What if it's like I was open, I followed my intuitions, whatever it is. And then it's like when things happen that it's like lucky or magic money, like for me, it's just like, yes, please, more, please. Like I just say, yes, please, more, please, 1,000 times a day. It's like, yes, please, more, please. Like, yes, please, more, please. This is where it's like, I don't need to get it up here, but I'll take more of that. I'll be in this, yes, please, more, please frequency. And reminded me something there, and I'm going to share this final story with you, and then we're going to part ways. And
Thank you
this
so much.
story, you're so welcome. This story is not going to have the ending that you're probably going to think that it's going to have, ending on laws of abundance for this call. It's going to show you the opposite of what happens. I'm someone who I said, like, I really follow my intuition. I like don't deny my soul. And I was in Vegas about a month ago with my husband. I'm not a gambler. I don't know how to gamble and play the things. But we kept having all these experiences of the number 19. And for those of you guys who've like followed my story over like the last year, my dad died a year ago. He was a hockey player. His number was 19 for like everything his whole life. And since he's died, like I see 19s everywhere. So like we're on the way to the airport, and there was a couple stops we were making. I was trying to like time it. And so like I put it in, and normally it takes us like 25 minutes to get to this one spot. And it was like 19 minutes. I was like, oh, traffic's moving fast today. And then from there, it usually takes an hour and 5 minutes to get to the airport, but it was like an hour and 19 minutes. And then we get to the airport, and the plane's not delayed 20 minutes, it's 19 minutes. And then something happened, and we like, there just kept being 19s everywhere. And so I have 3 sisters, my mom, we're in this group chat, and I'm like being like, there's like 19s show up like literally everywhere for us. And one of them was like, go put money on like number 19 on the roulette table. I was like, can we go put money on number 19 black? Well, there is no 19 black in the roulette table. It's red. Found that one out. But the funny thing is we were in Vegas for like 3 days. 19s kept showing up. I was like, I kind of felt like, because I'm probably going to do this before I leave, but I just didn't. And then the last night before we were leaving, my husband and I just went out for dinner in our hotel, and we were like leaving the restaurant. He's like, okay, are you going to go put money on 19? And I was like, 19 black. And I was like, yes, I am. And we went to leave the restaurant, and I started to walk left, and he started to walk right. And I was like, where are you going? He's like, the roulette table's over here. And I was like, no, the roulette table's over here. And he's like, no, it's over here. And I was just like, okay, I'll just follow you over here. And so we went to this roulette table over here. And again, in hindsight, I'm like, no, I wanted to go left. Why did I not go left? But I followed him. We sat down. I was playing and I kept putting like just solid chips, I think chips or whatever, on 19 and other things. And people kept asking, and I was winning, but I wasn't hitting 19 like straight on because there was like other things happening. And people are like, why do you keep putting it on 19? And I was like, 19's gonna hit tonight. Like it just is. Like I just like know that it is. And I, there's a whole thing. And so people were like watching, I was winning money, and then 19 didn't hit. And I was like, okay, I'm done. Left. We were walking back to our hotel room past the roulette table that I thought existed, that I wanted to go to. And in the past 10 minutes, 19 had hit twice. Not even once, twice, right on. If I would have sat at that table, like there would have been overflow of abundance coming in magic money. And like, this is what I mean. It's like, can I like literally just be available for magic money because I follow my intuition? And like, we laughed about that because he's like, you always follow, like, he's like, why did you listen to me? And I was like, I don't know. I just like, it seems so silly to like not go right, but it's like, we're being like, this is my belief. Like I was being guided to that table, and then I was guided to it after, just to prove to myself, like, see, you would have sat here, you would have hit 19 twice, and you would have had a few $1,000s in your pocket going home. No, intuition, magic money, it all exists. It's like, that to me wouldn't have been luck. I'm sure if I sat at that table and had hit 19 twice there, people would have been like, oh my gosh, that was so lucky. And it's like, well, is it luck? I don't think so. All right, gorgeous souls. We'll end on the not receiving the windfall of abundance, in hopes that sparks the follow your intuition to receive the abundance that wants to make its way to you. All right, I love you. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
This is the network to be in for conscious female entrepreneurs.